Enjoy your Monday morning coffee here on 88.3 Southern FM, Mondays 9 till 10.
Good morning and welcome to Coffee Chat this morning here on 88.3 Southern FM. You're with Lee Cummins this morning and the time is coming up 6 minutes past 9. We're also doing something really new today. We are live broadcasting with a Periscope, so you'll be able to see what goes on in the studios and just at periscope.tv. But the most exciting thing is that I've got the gorgeous Sara Gilbert with me, and Sara has been travelling around. She's our resident astrologer. Perfect timing because it is our winter solace here in Australia. So good morning, Sara.
Good morning, Lee. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's great to have you on the program again.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Really pleased.
And you always come because there's lots of things happening in the skies and in the stars.
Yep.
Now, we have been experiencing some extremely cold weather. So tell me, is this cold weather, has this got anything to do at all with the stars?
Well, it's got to do with the way the stars with the seasons. And last night, actually, we're really close to the actual solstice time. It was 2:38 last night, I believe. That when the sun went into Cancer, which is what gives us that winter solstice. And of course, that is like what you could say the peak of winter. So it's the day when there's less sun. You know, it rises later and sets earlier on that, or it rises the latest and sets the earliest on that day. So we've now had our shortest day, and it's all speed ahead towards spring. So that's great.
Oh, thank goodness, because as you know, I'm not one that likes the cold weather, and it's been pretty chilly.
Yeah, well, we're both fire signs, so I think we both go with the warm weather.
We certainly do, that's for sure. And I have to say that it has been really, really cold here in Melbourne.
Absolutely. It was a real culture shock for me coming back from 5 weeks in Greece at 30 degrees to come back on a day when it was 10 degrees.
Oh, look, I can sympathise with you. Now, I was out and about last night and I noticed that there's some absolutely beautiful stars. They're close to the moon, and soon after it gets dark the last few evenings. So what's going on?
Well, we've got some really good energy out there at the moment around this solstice, and that's great news because the solstice sets the energy for the next 3 months. So it's setting the energy all the way through to September, when we have a couple of eclipses coming up, and then they'll have an impact on the energy from there on in. But we've got at the moment we've got the moon in Leo, right with Venus and Jupiter who are in Leo, and it was like there's almost like a trajectory going right up into the sky. It actually goes up to a fixed star which is called Regulus, and Regulus is a very lucky star as well, providing you do the right thing and you don't try and take revenge on people that are doing nasty things to you.
Oh.
So Regulus is right up at the top, and there was a really bright star at the bottom, and that's Venus, and Venus is having the biggest effect on the sky around at the moment. There's all sorts of things happening with Venus over the next 3 months, which we'll be talking about. And the moon was with Venus on Saturday night. It was just gone past Jupiter last night, and we'll see Venus and Jupiter gradually going closer and closer together. And they're actually going to be what we call conjunct, or absolutely on the same degrees and minutes on June the 1st. So, no, July the 1st.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say,
I'm getting my months mixed up.
Well,
Yep. So keep watching, and it's that early evening time, just after the sun's gone down, that you see them for 2 or 3 hours. And yeah, looking really good. But they're going to be together in the sky for a long time, which is great news, because Jupiter is all about expansion and growth, and new belief systems and so on. It's a great energy for anyone that's putting anything new out there. And Venus is all about it's all about what we desire. So it's almost like the things you desire to grow can grow. And the ancient astrologers used to call them the two beneficent planets. So they used to say that Jupiter was the greater beneficent and Venus was the lesser beneficent. And they used to think that you know, you were going to have success, or you were going to win the war, or you were going to get lots of money if those were making favourable connections to what was going on in your chart, or what was going on in the chart for the events, you know, because quite often in the old days they were more looking at the events and whether they were going to be positive or negative.
so when you say the things that you desire will come into fruition, you would want to be desiring the right things.
Absolutely.
So you need a good mindset.
So Venus is very much about what we are attracted to and what we attract into our lives, and that goes back to actually what we value. So really Venus and Jupiter are very connected, because Jupiter's about our philosophical values, if you like, and our belief systems. But Venus is what we value at a more personal level, you know, sort of, so the kind of things we like to have around us, I guess, for us females, the kind of men that we want to have in our lives.
Yes.
And the kind of relationship or the kind of connections we want to have with other people. So Venus is very, very important for our emotional foundations and feeling really good about ourselves.
So Venus, you've been talking about quite a lot. So we all know she gets something to do with love and beauty. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, she's about she was a bit of a naughty lady, Venus. Really, she was very beautiful, and everyone loved her. She had a girdle that made anyone that came near her fall in love with her, and all the other goddesses used to fight to get a turn with this girdle, so that they could make people fall in love with them. But the love that Venus is about is really the love of alchemical attraction. So it's that very physical love rather than the romantic love. So, and the sort of nice love, if you like, that we're all out there looking for. So it's very much about sex and desire with Venus, and it's the things that we become attached to. You know, we get a real attachment to things, and sometimes doesn't work for us if we get too attached to things. So we have to be a little bit careful with Venus.
Now, with Venus, because you've talked a lot about her today, is she going to be around for a long time? Is this something that she's entered the stars and she's hanging around for a while?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of really cool stuff going on in Leo. We've got Venus and Jupiter there. They're going to be there for quite a lot longer. They're going to Venus is going to go into the next sign of Virgo very briefly, but then she's going to have one of those retrograde phases like we talk about with Mercury. Only for her it's a lot longer, because she goes retrograde for 40 days instead of 21 like Mercury does. And that 40 is a very significant number. You know, it occurs in the Bible and all sorts of things. Heaps of times I think the Jews were lost in the desert for 40 days, or, you know, and Jesus, when he was being tempted, it was for 40 days. So 40 days is a very significant period.
I think it also rained for 40 days and 40
probably.
Nights with the ark. Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of things like that. So actually Venus, you remember we've talked about Mercury's shadow period, how it has a sort of, when it gets to the point that it's going to retrograde back to, then that forms a shadow up to the time it retrogrades. And then when it goes back to where it retrograded from, that's another shadow afterwards. And actually it's about yesterday was the start of that shadow period, right, with the solstice. So that means there's going to be a little bit more of internalizing our Venus and looking at our role in it, what it is that we really want, instead of who we want. It's how we want things to be, you know, sort of how we want our relationship to be. And this period leading up to when she goes retrograde, and she's, now let me see, with all these notes I've got, because there's so many dates involved with this. She goes retrograde on July the 25th. So from now till July the 25th, our sensitivity is going to be raised a lot towards love, and we're going to feel disappointments and hurts a lot more, but we're also going to feel the positives a lot more as well. So it's going to be a very interesting time over up till she finishes all of that retrograde cycle. That won't be till the 9th of October, when she's right out of all the shadows and everything. So between now and the 9th of October, we're really going to be revisiting all our relationships and the way we deal with relationship.
And Sarah, will that also include things like, you know, work relationships, business relationships, love relationships?
Absolutely.
All the different types?
All different types. So what we want in our life in all those different areas. But it's almost like looking at it from the inside instead of the outside. We quite often think if we have this, we're going to be happy. But it's more, if we want this, that's going to make us happy, because it's we really have the ability to make ourselves happy or not, you know, by what we're thinking we have to have, what we're desiring. So it's a funny thing.
So you have to be careful.
Yes,
be
very
careful for what you wish for.
Yes. So Venus has got all these things going on. She's got all this stuff going on with Jupiter, but then when she's retrograde, she's actually going to catch up with Mars, who is the other sort of male that she has a lot to do with. Jupiter and she have a lot in common in their meanings, but Mars is like a polar opposite. He's a lover, you know, and he's the god that she sort of always used to be making love with instead of her husband. So as I said, she was a bit of a naughty girl, Venus.
She sounds like it.
So she's got this thing going on with Mars, and they're going to be, at the end of August, they're going to be together. And then again in November, because of the fact she's retrograde, and then she goes back and she meets him again when she's direct. So that's what I'm saying, there's all this relationship going on right through till November, really, you know. So it's a big emphasis on relationship.
And we're with Coffee Chat this morning here on 88.3 Southern FM. We've got Sara Gilbert with us this morning from Life Spirit Connections, and Sarah's going through where Venus is at the moment. Now, you were talking about relationships. Does that also mean the relationships between countries? Because I know in the past you've talked about how, you know, there's been some issues with different countries, and, you know, we've had a lot of turmoil. So would that also include, you know, relationships that different countries have?
It could do. That's not really my area of expertise. I'm not really a mundane astrologer. But, you know, sort of what's going on in the skies is going to affect everyone to a certain degree. There is one negative thing about this particular solstice, and there's not very much negative. But that is that the moon at the moment is squaring Saturn, and that means that some of the things from the past we're probably going to have to let go of in order to get the most out of all the positive energy that's around at the moment. Anyone that's got a lot of planets in Leo, or they've got their rising sign, or their you know, their MC, you know, what they're aspiring to in the world, any of those points in Leo, they're going to feel some of these things. And we haven't actually just, because as you know, I play around with asteroids and gods and goddesses more than what's in the planets. And there's actually a great big raft of them in between the moon, which was still in Leo at the time of the solstice, and Venus. And we've got Juno, who was Jupiter's wife in mythology. She's included in that area. And we've also got the husband and wife from the Egyptian system, Isis and Osiris, in there. So it almost, that's two marriages that are contained within this solstice as well, which is quite fascinating when you think about, the Venus connection, that, sort of that's all happening, and then she's going to have her meeting up with Mars later on, who's her partner. So, very much about partnerships and relationships. I suppose that's why I'm babbling on about it so much, because I think it's really very strong at the moment.
It's very exciting too.
It is.
It's nice to have some good news.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's actually trying where Venus and Jupiter are in the sky actually makes a nice trine to your moon. So it means it's all going to affect your emotions very nicely. You're going to feel very warm and loved and looked after over this period. So that's a nice thing to have as well.
That's lovely. All I can say is bring it on. So, Sara, given that you've given us all this fabulous information, how can we best use that energy?
Well, it's really about, instead of just looking out there, as I've said before, for what's going to happen to you, it's more looking at yourself, looking at how you've dealt with relationships. What are the kind of things that you really want, and are those really working for you in your life? So it's really reviewing the whole way you approach. It's not just relationships, it's really how you approach trying to bring the things into your life that you really want, and trying to work out what it is that actually is going to make you happy in your life, because sometimes when we're always striving after things we can't quite have, that gives us a very negative, almost effects on our self-esteem and makes us feel bad about ourselves. So,
you become disillusioned, and then you start to really question, what you're doing, how you're doing it, why you're doing it. Yeah.
So it's really, instead of that, it's questioning, what do you really need in your life? You might think what you want, but is what you want what you really need?
Yes.
Yeah, to make you feel fulfilled and happy and content with life, so that you can go through and achieve the best things in all areas of your life.
That sounds just fantastic, I have to say. So we are quite in love with Venus then, because she's bringing some good things our way by the sounds of it.
And of course, Venus is in Leo at the moment with Jupiter, and that brings a lot of passion. It brings the ability to show off a bit, to sort of be proud of yourself, because Leo's a very proud sign. It can also bring a bit of problems with pride, though, sort of and vanity. So you have to be a bit careful you're not getting a bit sort of legend in your own lunchbox sort of thing. But it actually gives you all that energy to go out after things. So anyone that's got a new project that they're absolutely passionate about, this is an excellent time to launch it and go forward with it over the next 3 months.
And would that also mean that new things would be coming in as well, that can ignite passion?
Yeah, definitely. New interests, sort of all those things. So it's really, at the deepest level, it's really about belief systems, which and belief systems come from what we about our belief systems, our value systems, and our self-belief and the way we value ourselves. is really right at the core of it all.
Sarah, as always, you come with a plethora of knowledge and information. So I want to thank you so much for coming into Coffee Chat. And I know that you specifically put these dates in for a reason, so that you've got so much to share that is significant at significant times. So if you'd like further information, you'll be able to get links to Sarah's website, and we've got Sara from Life Spirit Connections, but you'll be able to get links to that from the Coffee Chat website, which is coffeechat-fm.com, and we'll have this interview up, and we've also been broadcasting with Periscope. So thank you for being my little guinea pig, Sara.
I can't wait to have a look at it and see what it looks like.
Yes, well, all you need to do is pop onto Periscope and just search Lee Cummins Consult, and you'll be able to get the broadcast.
Oh, wonderful. I'll have to have a look.
26 minutes past 9 here on 88.3 Southern FM. You're with Lee Cummins, and because we've been talking about Venus, we've got Venus in blue jeans.